Hello, welcome to my Sunday Front. Today we have a bunch of news updates and I just wanted to get to it. So yesterday I was supposed to upload, but I decided just to kind of go through a bunch of, things that I haven't looked into. Because there's so many important events that I missed. I just wanted to go over them. So I kind of wanted to update old stories and kind of give some more light on the newer ones. But yeah, I want to kind of give a context of right now what we're going through as a nation also. And I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. The weather is fine. It's really nice outside. It's kind of touch and go with rain, but it's pretty, it's like one of those beautiful rains, those summer rains, and it just brings foliage. It's not like, causing trouble. But yeah, there was an incident. Speaking of Ohio, there was an incident that I had covered earlier about a man that was at the RNC in Milwaukee at a Trump rally, and he had been killed by the police. He was actually killed by the police, who deemed him a threat because he was attacking a man with a knife. He was armed and lunging at him, and as he approached the man, he was gunned down by Columbus PD. They had recruited a bunch of Ohio police departments to aid and assist them because of the situation that slowly, continues to unfold as far as the truth and behind the scenes. He was a veteran, right? So his family and many close people in his community had demonstrated, talking about needless police violence. But there's going to be several updates to different stories too. But I wanted to touch on also the elections, because it's going to continue until we find out who's going to be our next president, right? They'll be inaugurated next year. After January, we'll have a new president in the office, in the White House. It's very exciting for us, and it's a very serious topic, and I don't want to step on people's toes. And although you know me as a political, I like to talk about politics too, as well as being, active in what I do, but I also like to talk about it. So I want to start with Biden, and unfortunately, he was recently diagnosed with COVID. He did take a little time off and was not very cautious with his illness, keeping his scheduled meetings. He continued being at his in-person appointments, not losing a wink of sleep, keeping up with what some say might cause more harm than good, with continual alleged neglect and wellness. Some think he has lack of mental clarity, as well as COVID affecting the brain does nothing to help that. He did speak very little on the issues surrounding his health, Trump, and Barrow. So far, Biden has been quiet on many of our own issues, on his own health issues. If you were just to look as an outsider at his health and wellness, you would not know that he was recently diagnosed with COVID or got over a bout of that virus. You wouldn't even have guessed it by his actions and his involvement, and how hard he had worked during his campaign to continue raising and rallying for his support in more local communities. He on Sunday resigned from presidential campaigning, endorsing Kamala Harris, who ran at first but was chosen to run again as his vice president. So Kamala Harris was running, but once chosen to be his candidate again, she decided that was maybe a better move for her. And right away, you know, without even blinking, she didn't even give it another thought, she jumped on that opportunity. Kamala raised $50 million Saturday night for her presidential campaign. Her nomination being established after Biden's exit would happen. Later, he cited personal circumstances for leaving, and as of today, she has, well, I wrote this last night, $250 million, breaking records for campaign fundraising. So, her campaign has 250 mil, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of money for just her. I mean, compared to our own president, like, I think maybe people have pushed her into the spotlight, and kind of she garnered all that attention and kind of pulled that focus in sort of an affirmative action, you know, grift. I don't think that it was you know, that she was allowed. I think that it was kind of like she was pushing the issues and pushing the move to being in the spotlight instead of what she felt was in the shadows and what she felt was being benched. Because I think that Biden, as our leader, you know, he was kind of moved to have her a part of his campaign, but she also, you know, wanted and hoped for better for herself. And although she did want that job, because it's a great job to be vice president of the United States, she kind of probably more envious that this great nation's leader was once again kind of drowning her skill set with his great ability to lead the, you know, one of the best countries in the globe. So that said, the electricity is still having trouble with some hotspots for CenterPoint customers, but Houston is back on grid. Many angered that civilians taking to guns and arming hate at workers costed time and very valuable resources at a critical time. So if you haven't heard, there were threats being made and there were gunshots fired at the workers, at the linemen who were trying to, you know, put the power back on. And there were people that were on call from out of state, you know, and they were really focused on getting those down lines up and running for, you know, the neighborhoods and the whole city. You know, they had a deadline to fill. And, you know, and then again, they also had to, because of this, pull, once again, recruit because of the circumstances. In violence, acts of violence, they had to recruit other police departments from the state of Texas and try to, you know, keep that in check, you know, because I think a lot of the customers were solely focused on the crisis at the time, you know, and it was a lot to feed your children, to bathe and have hygiene and have medical care in such a dire situation. The internet, banks, airport were having disrupted service due to a crash, and this is news in actually another type of situation similar. Many delays at the airport caused stranded passengers. Microsoft software CrowdStrike glitch was behind this outage and caused outrage around the globe. So there were flights that were like kind of like canceled, it seemed. There were people just sitting at the airport. There were many people who couldn't use their banks, you know, and the internet in total. They were suffering from all these things because of a software technical problem. So everybody's still talking about it and still, you know, feeling the impact of that, and I guess dealing with the aftermath. So Hamas and Netanyahu to meet and talk ceasefire. Hamas and China had agreed to an outline of events prior. The talks are not expected to help bring the hostage negotiations sooner. Neither are those watching hopeful at any rate. So a lot of people are, a lot of spectators are watching, and they're not very optimistic at all at these talks that Netanyahu attended to in China. They have been speaking, trying to speak with Hamas regarding all the hostage negotiations and everything. But Hamas had, I believe, had talks before Netanyahu came to meet, and they had agreed upon a lot of different things. They have their own points of view, and they have a whole, they have a list and outline, and it's just a matter of bringing these two groups together and kind of brainstorming their own thing, because at the end of the day, it just depends on these two governing forces coming to a decision, just one decision on paper. And so that might take a little bit longer. But guys, keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers, because this is a situation that is ongoing, and these people, they need hope. So like I said, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. It's not like it could never happen. It could happen. It's just a matter of keeping the hope, So due to the events that occurred at the Trump rally, the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheeto resigns. Day 2. The great pressure was felt after her lack of empathy, cooperation, or accountability was seen after taking the stand. Talks continue as outrage mounts. So the outrage continues to mount, regardless of any consequences faced by the people who were subject, to the whole challenge that maybe more should have been done. So when she took the stand, she was very aloof. She was very hush. She, her mouth was zipped, and she couldn't pinch an ounce of sympathy for anybody that had been, victimized. So I think the first day she was fine. The second day, she had slept on it, and by morning, people, I'm sure, left her phone hanging off the ringer, calling, and calling her phone, blowing it up. And I just think that maybe social pressures had brought that conclusion to her. So in Ethiopia, 250 people were killed during a mudslide, as rescuers had been seen digging through mud with bare hands. A second one took the lives of many search and rescue workers. They are expecting the number to continue to rise, though the operation remains underway to find survivors as well as recover victims. So Gofa Zone on Sunday was hit with heavy rain. The initial report was 150 were missing. And Monday, tragedy struck again. By Tuesday, 100 more were counted in the death toll. So, at first they were hopeful and they count them as missing, because they have to recover. And once they began the recovery process, another landslide hit. And so all of them, 250, were deemed to have passed from the landslide itself. And they expect that to continue to rise, because they're still not even, at the tip of the iceberg at this point, finding the victims. So the VP candidate for Trump 2024 rallies in Middletown north of Cincinnati, midway to Dayton, at his old high school, Middletown High School, drawing 1,000 people. So J.D. Vance had rallied in Middletown, Ohio. That's his hometown, and went to his own school and rallied there, and I think everybody was watching. Like, that was like a big, huge deal for everybody. It was kind of a cutesy moment to see a vice president candidate, you know, kind of embracing his own hometown. That was really kind of nice. So hyperthermal explosion, a burst of pressure under the ground where the thermal geysers intersect, have caused closure in Biscuit Basin, a section of Yellowstone Park. So I know a lot of you guys are like, when it comes to a lot of topics like weather and stuff, y'all are very on my case that I get a little bit technical and don't convey, I guess, a person that, you know, you can relate to. But I think in Yellowstone Park, there was this spot literally called Biscuit Basin, and it had been closed because the geysers, you know, the hot springs, the hot geysers that shoot up in the air, they had underground intersected like this, and they actually, kind of like a car, when the hot water just, you know, it's like stuck in there, it just popped, and the ground just came out. It just flew in the air, and because of that happening, they call it a hyperthermal explosion. They had to close off that area. In other weather news, wildfires caused Canadian Jasper National Park area evacuations affecting 25,000 people. So that's how many people, 25,000 in Canada, were evacuated at Jasper National Park due to wildfires. And again, wildfires are a big theme right now because of the actual weather. West Coast hit with wildfire and wildfire watch as storms hover over the week ahead, creating trouble and evacuation. So there have been evacuations in the United States due to the wildfires, especially on the West Coast. So you guys might want to check your local alerts if you are in those areas. Just make sure you you know, keep ahead of your game. Be ready, be prepared, and stay safe. So Bangladesh faces 150 deaths after government quota, a rejected system of draft and recruitment to government job seats, including military. The students protested and police used force, causing the kids' deaths. And the civilians began to riot, filming the callous army. The government then imposed curfew, taking down internet and even phone lines. The lack of phone service communication caused inner pressure, in my opinion, leading to the dismantling of the unfair policy. Many have cited the students' work ethic would speak for them as future employees, not a nepotism bias, fearing the lack of opportunity to earn a living. I think these students were very well in their right to protest, you know, and to gather and kind of get their voice heard, you know, try to get a little bit louder about, you know, their situation, because they, after graduation, would need employment. It's, you know, this world, you know, we have a lot of struggles, and one of them is finding and keeping employment, putting food on the table. That all boils down to that one thing, you know. And I think having to go through all that, investing all your money and time and resources, and just to hear the government is handing these jobs to people who may not even want the jobs, but they're holding on to hope that these people will all want the job. that is set only for them. So no matter what paperwork is pushed, this is the system that was in place at the time of these riots and protests and demonstrations, where there were 150 student lives taken because you know, the Bangladesh police were, you know, not trying to hear them out. You know, once the process began, they didn't want to change it, and now they're seeing different, you know, and trying to change things to kind of buffer, I guess, due to the violence too. So, and speaking of which, Sonia Macy, brutal police force caused a civil rights outcry around the nation. Sonia Macy, she is another say her name now, just in case you missed it. This deadly event of police brutality began when she called emergency service alleging break-in. The police, upon entering the home, questioned her briefly. She alarmed to a pot overboiling on the stove, ran to the kitchen and tended to it. She put the pot in the sink. And one cop, threatening, said, "You better not or I will shoot you in the face, ma'am." By the way, this case is taking place in Illinois. She lifted her oven mitts and backed away from the sink, where the police opened fire. The initial shooter stood over her, being belligerent. The second cop, unable to tend to her medical aid for minutes, resulting in her untimely death. So I have seen body cam footage of both of these individuals, and it is extremely disturbing. If you are sensitive to bias issues, I will warn you if you do come across it on the line. I mean, they are pretty graphic. They show the aftermath and everything, so that all alone, you know, just beware. So I have one more story before I let you guys go. Oriental waters, a churning storm dubbed Karina, officially named Typhoon Kaimi, hit Philippine Islands as well as Taiwan, eyeing China. It has caused catastrophic damage as civilians scramble to prepare those in the path of the storm. With Cat 3 winds, it continues unfazed, very powerful, causing flooding with rains as well as wind gusts that have been in video circulating, throwing common objects like play toys. It has caused severe floods in Manila and failed to hit land. While approaching Taiwan, it looped around cartoonishly. Staying in the waters, the seas have been rough and deemed impassable. Many flights were canceled and delayed. China, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines have all had to cancel events, not limited to air travel, trains and boats as well. Preparation includes to stockpile rations of food and supplies as rebuild becomes closer to reality than we are comfortable with. The gusts were Category 4, 5 hurricane equivalent, making this a super typhoon. Authorities stating this occurrence so rare, the last storm this powerful was 8 years ago. Referenced Typhoon Nepartak in 2016. They reported hundreds of injuries and 15 deaths in both Taiwan and the Philippines. So again, keep those people in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon on the next one. My son Different. Bye-bye.